Halo Infinite has been 6 years in the making. That includes the development of a complete new engine, the crafting of a semi-open world single-player campaign and the biggest and most ambitious multiplayer ever, for the first time free to play. After its controversial first showing in July 2020, the game has been delayed for an entire year. Ever since, a new creative director has been brought on board, the game got 1 year of polish, and over the last weekends gamers were able to play the game themselves in a multiplayer beta. So today we look at the state of Halo Infinite. How are the core gameplay mechanics? How have the graphics evolved? Is the game delivering a fun and rewarding experience? And what questions are still open for the big Halo Infinite release on December 8th? Hello gamers from around the world, this is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, with a video on Halo Infinite. And if you want to see just how good the Halo multiplayer looked in its beta form, I highly recommend to set your player to full 4K 60 FPS to get the best audio-visual experience I can deliver to you. And while you're at it, please also consider to hit the like and subscribe button and maybe even turn on the notification bell to not miss out on future content. Thank you guys, you are awesome, and now let's talk about Halo Infinite. The game has been full with controversy. I already mentioned the initial showing of the game in 2020, where 343 Industries have shown a vertical slice from a very early PC build. Even though many liked the actual gameplay mechanics they have shown on the open world Halo ring, the disappointment was mostly regarding the graphics and art style. The game was already in a playable state at that point, but 343 or Xbox delayed the game to polish it up an entire year. The second big controversy was only a few weeks ago when they announced that they will launch the game without Forge, and more importantly, the single-player campaign will launch without co-op. Co-op will come later in early 2022. So the concern came up about the state of the game. Why is Halo Infinite's campaign launching in an incomplete state? And even though I personally am going to do my first playthrough of Halo Infinite solo anyway, I get why people are worried that co-op is missing at launch. So in the middle of this controversy, a Halo Infinite multiplayer beta happened over the course of the last 2 weekends, and it couldn't have come at a better time. The beta was open for selected Halo insiders that registered prior to the actual beta, but they more or less allowed everyone who actually registered into the beta, and so a lot of gamers were able to experience it. And why do I say that this beta came just at the right time? Well, the big gaming season is about to start and the other major releases are coming out really soon, so this was perfect because gamers had actually time, and it was the perfect chance to convince gamers of the actual core gameplay mechanics. Halo Infinite got really modernized with things like sprint and aiming down sight. These are standards in the first-person shooters these days, but when Halo launched 20 years ago, aiming down sight and sprint were not part of the experience. But times have changed. Back in the days there were not that many shooters to play on consoles, and that was one of the things that made Halo such a success. It was one of the first shooters that actually delivered a PC class experience on consoles. But ever since, shooters on consoles became very popular, and we have a ton of shooters out there, and of course Halo needs to meet the standard of the zeitgeist. And somehow 343 Industries really nailed it. They added these mechanics while still maintaining that classic Halo feeling, that shooting that is skill based, while feeling just as good if not better than any other modern day shooter out there, kinda like a mix of Halo 3 and Halo 5 with a really good polish. The core gameplay mechanics are fun as ever. It is still very satisfying to just shoot someone in the back or to stick a plasma grenade up their bottom, and the newest addition with the grappling hook is insanely satisfying, especially when you grapple yourself onto an enemy vehicle just to pull the guy out of his vehicle and give it to him. Yes, the Halo gameplay allows for some amazing gameplay moments. The gunplay is on point, and like I mentioned earlier, this is really hard to do considering how many good feeling shooters we have out there. And especially in the big team battle multiplayer mode that was included in the Halo beta, there were some crazy moments going on the battlefield. It can get chaotic, it can get hectic, but it is somehow absolutely addictive to play Halo multiplayer, and that is coming from someone that usually isn't the biggest fan of competitive multiplayer games. I usually just don't have the time to practice competitive multiplayer games to become good, and that's why I tend to play more co-op or single player games. But with the beta, a ton of community members were online, and it was just a blast to team up and go crazy on Halo's battlefield. Okay, that said, Halo Infinite really nails the core gameplay mechanics. It just feels so good to play, and it runs butter smooth, and that brings me to the technical aspect of Halo Infinite. I mean, if you look at the footage you can see here, you can already tell that they have done a lot on the graphic side of things when compared to its original showing last year. And what you can see here is the multiplayer. Usually multiplayer modes have a reduced level of detail in order to keep the gameplay smooth while all the multiplayer action is happening. We've seen that in a lot of games, and that's why I'm particularly excited to see how the campaign will hold up on the graphics side. From this multiplayer beta we can tell that it runs buttery smooth, and I'm not doing any pixel countings or frame rate measurements here on my channel. Not that I don't love those, but when gamers usually talk, they are not talking about things like, have you noticed that in this one scene the vertical pixel count dropped to 1800p? We are talking about things like, does it look good, does it run smooth? And to answer those questions, yes to both. The frame rate was very consistent even though the game is still in a beta state. And I'm not just talking about the 120 frames per second mode, even in the regular 60 FPS mode the game runs absolutely buttery smooth. And if you look at the texture quality or the lighting in the game, you can really tell that 343 Industries spend a lot of time polishing up the graphic side of things. Textures show an insanely high level of detail even if you get close to them. There are a lot of other details scattered around the multiplayer maps. The physics show a lot of detail. For instance, if you shoot off tires of a vehicle or something like that, you can tell that they pay attention to physics and the little details. So overall I had a blast playing the beta, and that now has me even more excited for the single player campaign, which is usually more my cup of tea. We haven't seen the campaign yet, and considering that the game will come out in only 2 months, that's somehow strange. But on the other hand, if you think about all the hype that Halo is getting right now because of its multiplayer beta, there's really no need to show the campaign right now. They can do that much more closer to launch in order to keep the hype at the maximum when the game actually comes out. At least from a gameplay and graphics point of view, I have no doubt anymore that Halo Infinite will deliver. As I said previously, single player campaigns usually look better than multiplayer games, and if they bring that kind of graphical fidelity combined with the great looking textures, some great lighting effects and the incredible good feeling of the gunplay to a campaign, I'm all in. I know a lot of people who were concerned about the actual art style. Many expected Halo to be a photorealistic looking game, but the art style has a little stylization to it, and let me be honest, I don't mind because the game looks fantastic as it is. And with that, I already want to wrap it up. The biggest question for me now is really if 343 Industries can actually nail the story in the campaign and how they will design the open world with its side quests and whatnot on the open world Halo ring. But if 343 is paying the same attention to detail in the story than they have in the multiplayer, I am in best faith that they will release an amazing game on December 8th. And that release date is genius, by the way, because it might not qualify the game for the Game Awards, but it will be the last major release of the year, and Halo Infinite, with its free-to-play multiplayer and 23 maps launching at day 1 and a big campaign on an open world Halo ring, will keep gamers busy over the Christmas break well into January. And it will be the game that many gamers play, talk about on social media or stream on their channels. And coming off the beta myself, I'm incredibly excited to play a ton of Halo Infinite this holiday season. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button as well as the notification bell. And if you want to support the channel even further, you can become a channel member and get early access to my videos and custom made badges and emojis. And let me thank everyone who supports this channel in any kind of way. You guys are awesome and make this channel to what it is. And now let me know in the comments down below, have you had the chance to play Halo Infinite? What are your first impressions of the game? And besides here on YouTube, you can also hit me up on Twitter, where I share a lot of opinions and gaming discussions. But for now, thank you very much for watching, I see you the next time, and game on!